What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Seeking Brother Husband, Season 1, Episode 1, It's Raining Men. Honey, it was thundering men. We had a hailstorm of men on this first episode. So let's get started. Now, before we get into the couples, thruples, what have you, let's just talk about this concept of a woman having multiple husbands. Now, I'm a little bit more familiar with the reason why a man would have multiple wives. It's biblical. We are, I don't want to, it used to be, like common, I guess, with the Mormons. That's where we were first kind of introduced. That's where I was kind of first introduced to this whole concept of one man, multiple wives in the United States. But many cultures throughout history have practiced this. And like I said, it's also in the Bible. And the idea of one man having more than one wife, it was sort of practical. For example, if they needed a lot of children to help out with the land, with the agricultural aspects of life. You needed as many hands as possible working in the fields, etc., etc. Or maybe having multiple wives and having multiple children showed a sign of wealth, or maybe it was a way to expand the bloodline, or it was a way to show, I don't know, dominance or something in a particular tribe or village, that the leader or the chief is having multiple wives because he can, and who's going to say no? And it's just a way of showing, the dominance of it all, like having multiple cars or having multiple homes. It shows that you can take care of all of these wives and children, which means that you must have a lot of money. So there's a whole lot of reasons that we're a little bit familiar with of why one man would have multiple wives, of what we've seen here in the United States with how it used to be with the Mormons. I know it's not like that anymore, and it's a little bit stereotypical to think that, all Mormons are like that. But we also know that in various cultures, various eras in history, this has been the common practice. So the concept of one wife with multiple husbands is kind of like, for what reason? For what reason? It can't be to have as many children as possible, because you can only have so many kids. So what is the purpose of having more than one husband? And so when I watched the first episode of Seeking Brother Husband, it seems like it really served a very selfish purpose. Whereas one husband, multiple wives was kind of practical, which could turn into selfishness. But mainly the core root of why a man would have multiple wives, it was for kind of like practical reasons. But then the core root of a woman having multiple husbands in this society, in this day and age, from what I could gather, it was really for like selfish reasons. It was because the wife just wanted to have more than one husband for her own selfish reasons, and her partner would agree, and then she would take on another man. It wasn't for any type of practicality. I don't even think it was for financial. It wasn't like she would say, well, I needed to have more than one husband so that I can have as many men provide for me as possible, or this one man wasn't making enough, so I had to get another man, to increase the income of the home. It wasn't even for a financial reason. It was just because she just wanted to, for whatever reason. So I'm just saying all of that to say that, like, intellectually, other than for selfish reasons, I couldn't grasp the whole reasoning behind one woman with multiple husbands. So let's get into Kenya, Carl, and Tiger. So Kenya and Carl have been married 26 years and have 3 grown children. A few years ago, 10 plus years ago or so, Kenya met Tiger at a Halloween party. So they started vibing, they clicked, they got along, the chemistry was there. And so then she invited or included Tiger into her relationship with Carl. Now, it seemed like to me that Carl, being married to Kenya for 26 years, it seems like to me, Carl was like, what? I gave this woman 26 years of my life. She's pretty, high maintenance, maybe pretty demanding. I've done my part, so I'm gonna just chill. I'm gonna just chill. I don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of a divorce because it's comfortable over here. And I'm gonna let her do her thing with Tiger. Tiger is the one that is still, I'm not gonna say new to all of this because he's been with Kenya for 10 years, but he's not as he hasn't put in 26 years. He hasn't reached that time. Like, to me, Carl was like, I did my time and now I'm retired. I'm chilling. And Tiger is still very much the everyday, husband, very present. He's there every day, every night, doing what he needs to do to keep Kenya happy. So they met at a Halloween party, Kenya and Tiger. And they say that Tiger was dressed as Tiger Woods for Halloween. And my only question was, what does that even mean? Other than looking like a golfer, what does dressing like Tiger Woods mean? I didn't understand that. But I digress. So Kenya and Carl, when Kenya met Tiger and felt like, she was vibing with him, had chemistry with him, and she wanted to be with him, she talked about it with her husband, Carl. So I guess she introduced this idea of including Tiger into their relationship, and it took about 2 years for them to come to a decision. I don't know if it was 2 years of her trying to convince Carl to go through with this, or if it was just 2 years of them talking about it and then shelving the idea, then talking about it again and then shelving the idea. I don't know why it took 2 years, but it took 2 years for them to come to a consensus that it was okay for Tiger to join the fam bam. So the reason why Carl allowed this to even happen, he says, is because he believes in letting a woman express herself and to be free to do whatever she wants, make whatever decision she wants. And he, as her man, has to support her and allow that to happen. I feel like, and I don't know enough about any of these people to form like an opinion of them, but I feel like Kenya is a great manipulator. I think she's a great manipulator in how she somehow convinces these men to do her bidding. Because the way he said that, allowing a woman to express herself, and expressing herself meaning to be with other men, and for him to stand by that, not only just to allow it but to support it, I was like, it sounds like you're regurgitating some Kenya isms. She fed this into you and now you're feeding it into us, but the only thing is I'm not falling for it, whatever. So Kenya says that she's multifaceted and that both men satisfy the different aspects, the different facets of Kenya. She's so complex that one man can't satisfy all of her. So she needs more than one to satisfy the different parts of her. Kenya is looking for a third husband, but it seems like Tiger is not really down with this idea. So Tiger is worried that the next guy might be bigger and better than him. Okay, bigger and better. Take that as however you want to take it. So Tiger and Kenya, they have shared the same bedroom for the past 10 years. Carl, he has his own room. And so he's chilling in the corner pocket by himself, doing whatever the hell he wants to do, having the freedom to not worry about Kenya, not to be bothered by Kenya, but still getting the benefits of Kenya whenever he feels like it. So Carl tells us that he is very much an introvert. He likes to be by himself. He likes to have his own space. So it really doesn't bother him that Kenya and Carl are sharing a room, Kenya and Tiger are sharing a room, doing their thing. He could care less because he just wants to be left alone with his phone, computer, video games, whatever is entertaining him. And he's cool. He's chilling. So now that Kenya is exercising the idea of taking on a third husband, Tiger, the one that she's been married to for 10 years, husband number 2, he is feeling very threatened by this. Number 1, he doesn't want to be kicked out of the bedroom. He wants to be able to stay in the bedroom with Kenya. But Kenya's like, that's not how it works. So when I do find my new boo, you're going to have to move to the next room. I think they're going to try to get a bigger house or something. Because I don't know if they have the room to, I don't think they have 3 separate bedrooms. I don't know. But she has made it clear to him that when the new boo comes along, he's going to have to move out. And he doesn't want to move out. He says that, this has been my world for the past 10 years, waking up to Kenya, sleeping next to Kenya. And I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. He says it's scaring the crap out of me that I'm going to have to leave my comfortable space with Kenya. I mean, this man is worried as hell when I was watching him on this damn show, because the juxtaposition between Carl and Tiger is so vastly different. The first husband, and I've realized this was like a pattern throughout all of these people. What I realized, like the first husband, the first husband has a lot of time to get used to the idea of having a second husband, because him and the wife have talked about it for a very long time. Maybe she had cheated on him. He found out about it. He accepted it. So the idea of her being with another man has already entered his brain. He's already experienced it, and he has survived it. So with her being with another man, that's nothing new to him. If he wants to accept his wife bringing in another man into the relationship, or it's just an idea that was brought up at some point in their relationship that the wife wants to take on a second husband. So they've had a long time to discuss it, to talk about it in depth, to work out the logistics of it. So the first husband is okay with it. You know what I mean? In a way, more okay with it than husband number two. So when husband number two comes along, and I'm talking in generalities, this kind of applies to all of the couples. When husband number two comes along, husband number two probably has this big ego, thinking that, oh, she came to me even though she already had a man, because that man must be lacking somewhere. So she had to go find somebody else, and she found me, and I'm the full package. So he has his ego blown up, feeling like, there's something about him that's just so much better than husband number one. So he gets really comfortable in that position of thinking that, I'm better. There's something about me that's just better than husband number one, because if husband number one was doing it like that, she would need to come to husband number two. So he kind of walks around, with his feathers really extra fluffed, strutting his stuff, thinking that, I'm just better than husband number one. I got it going on like that. So then when the wife starts talking about husband number three, husband number two gets extremely threatened. And husband number one is looking at husband number two like, I told you your day would come, but you didn't want to believe me. I'm over here chilling like a villain, and you're all stressed out. Your feathers are falling out because you're thinking that husband number three is going to come and take your place. And in this situation, it seems like that's what might be happening with Kenya, Carl, and Tiger. So Tiger feels like he's being, put out of his bedroom space, just to have another guy come and sleep in the same bed with Kenya. And this is freaking him out. And so I think as a last ditch effort, he talks to her about getting married. And the reason why I say a last ditch effort is because, I feel like, why haven't you already done that? If that was the plan, if that was always the plan, not to get married, but to have some type of a ceremony, to solidify the relationship or whatever. Why haven't you already done that? So for him to bring this up now, when she's considering a third husband, it's like he's trying to, he's grasping at straws now, trying to hold on to Kenya. And he needs some type of a security. So he talks to her about possibly getting married or having some type of a ceremony. And she says to him that the concept of marriage is to unite families. And she says, but your mother does not accept this, or she doesn't understand this. So what would be the point of us getting married? And his mother, Tiger's mother, thinks that her son Tiger just kind of got caught up in the claws of this Jezebel, and that he's just, lollygagging around with a married woman, having a good old time with this married woman, and that this is some type of a very superficial relationship. It's not that deep. It's not that big of a deal. Eventually, even though it's been 10 years, eventually her son might just snap out of it. And Kenya is very resentful of how Tiger's mom looks upon their relationship, because to Kenya, this is a real relationship. She's like, this is a real deal, Holyfield relationship, just as real as it is with me and Carl. And me and Carl, we raised 3 children together. She said she's been with Tiger for 10 years. She helped him raise his son. And she says, I've changed this man's life. I've brought magic into his life. I've made him into the man that he is today. I've given him that razzle dazzle that was lacking before. So she, thinks a lot of herself and how much she means to Tiger. So the fact that his mother kind of downplays it, she's like, yeah, I don't think I want to get married because your mom ain't down. She doesn't understand. She's very critical of how we're living or how I'm living. So yeah, I don't think we need to be getting married. So his security blanket, like marriage is like his security blanket for Tiger. She doesn't want to do it. So I don't know what he's going to do. This man is freaking the hell out. So that was a very interesting throuple there. Extremely interesting. Moving on to Elisa and Mike. So Elisa and Mike, they've been married for 4 years. She is a social media manager, whatever that is. He's a mechanical engineer. She breaks it down for us, the difference between polyamory and polyandry. Polyamory is multiple people having multiple partners. Polyandry is the female having multiple husbands. So she ended up cheating on Mike at some point while they were dating. Before they got married, she cheated on him and he ended up finding out. And in her eyes, he loved me enough to stay with me. So they ended up getting married despite the fact that she cheated on him. Alyssa's mom, so now she's looking for a second husband. Alyssa wants a second husband. And she's talked to Mike about it. And it seems like Mike is probably 75 to 80% on board, provided that Alyssa follows certain guidelines. If I said looking for a second husband, I take that back. I don't think she's looking for a second husband. I think she's looking for a boyfriend. She wants Mike as her husband, which he is legally. And so then she also wants like a little friend on the side, like a boyfriend on the side. And he seems to be okay with that, provided that she follows certain boundaries. And we'll get to those boundaries later. So then we meet Alyssa's mom. And Alyssa's mom is helping her take her profile pictures for her dating profile because she's actively searching for another man. And her mom isn't too keen on this. We even meet her dad. Her dad also doesn't really understand what the hell is going on. They're not really, into this, but they're supporting their daughter. And Mike's mom, they talk about Mike's mom and how she does not accept the fact that Alyssa wants to have a boyfriend on the side. Of course, because Mike is her son. That's her baby. And Alyssa has already cheated on him. Now she wants to bring a whole entire third party to their relationship. So his mom is not really cool. We haven't met the mom yet. It was just Alyssa and her mom discussing how to break this to, or what they need to do, what Alyssa needs to do to convince her mother-in-law that this is perfectly okay. And so her mother suggests that why don't you just invite her over for dinner and we'll all have a discussion and we'll see how far we can get with her. Mike's mom feels like Alyssa is forcing Mike to be in this polyandry type of relationship because she cheated on him, he still stayed, and now he feels like according to maybe her mother-in-law, now her son feels like, he's kind of stuck with Alyssa. I don't know why the mom feels like Alyssa somehow trapped him because I don't think they have any children together, so I don't know how she could trap him, but whatever, that's what the mother-in-law thinks. But like I said, we haven't met her yet. It was just Alyssa and her mom talking about the mother-in-law. So we find out that it was both Alyssa and Mike's idea for Alyssa to seek another partner. They were both in agreement with that. And so then they start talking about, so Mike tells us that, the idea of Alyssa being with another man, okay, he's okay with that. He can deal with that. The idea of her being with another man, but to actually see her with his own two eyes, to see his wife, like going out with another man, spending time with another man, that's going to be challenging for him, he said. And they talk about boundaries, and her boundary is, our bedroom is completely off limits to me and my new boyfriend, if I should find one. Our bedroom is sacred. I will not bring anybody there. His idea of boundary is this whole damn apartment. Okay. He ain't stepping 1 foot into this home of mine. And so Alyssa was like, oh, so like next week you're going to be going on a bachelor trip or bachelor party. So he can't, if I have a boyfriend by then, he can't come over at all. And Mike is like, I'm just not comfortable with that. I don't want him in my damn home. Y'all can do whatever out there, but I don't want him in my damn home. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on to Kim, Dustin, and Vincent. So Kim and Dustin, they have been married for 13 years. They have one child together, and Dustin has two previous children. He has two children from a previous relationship. Kim was actually Dustin's college instructor. And, Kim is very much by the book, because when her and Dustin began like having an attraction for one another, instead of just going for it and hoping that, nobody finds out, she actually went to her superiors to ask them how to navigate this. Okay, me and my student, we were having feelings for each other. What are the do's and don'ts? Well, she got the green light. I don't know if it's because he was no longer in her class or what it was, but she got the green light from her superiors, and so that's when they began to finally start dating. So she was previously married as well. And she comes from a very Christian background. And so with her first marriage, she went by the book called the Bible, which is you wait until you're married before you have relations. Very typical Christian type of marriage. Well, they got married really, really young. They drifted apart. They ended up getting a divorce. And after her divorce, she kind of drifted away from, her religious upbringing. So I don't know if she's against Christianity or if she just kind of like got a little bit more lax with following Christianity. And her family thinks that Dustin was the one or was the cause of her pulling away from her religion. And Kim says, I was pulling away way before I met Dustin. So he had nothing to do with that. But her and Dustin are not true Christians, or they don't really follow Christianity like that. They have their own little spirituality thing going on. So she ends up meeting this guy named Vincent online. And they struck up a connection, started talking more, feelings got involved, and so they wanted to be with one another. Vincent has 2 failed marriages, and he also has 2 children from his previous relationships. Dustin initially thought that Kim and Vincent would like have their own separate thing, like away from him, but I guess Kim had told him at some point that, hey, I met this guy, I'm digging him, he's digging me, what do you think? And I guess Dustin was okay with it, I don't know. But he thought that Kim and Vincent would have their own separate thing, but they ended up kind of like blending the 2 families together. I don't know if Vincent was living with them at one point, or if he was just heavily dating Kim. I don't know. I wasn't too clear on that, but I think Vincent actually at some point moved in with Kim and Dustin, and I don't know if his kids moved in with him or his kids would come and visit, and during their visitation with their father, they would all stay in the house together. I really wasn't clear on that. So when Kim started talking about having a third partner, Dustin, husband number one's used to it. Okay, they've been down this road. They know what it is. They decided to stay while their wife was looking for partner number 2. The second husband is the one that struggles with it, just like with Kenya, Carl, and Tiger. The second husband is the one that struggles because the second husband feels like when they're introduced into this dynamic that they must be a little bit above husband number 1, because I must have something that husband number 1 doesn't, for her to want to go out there and find another man. So they kind of feel a little bit, I don't know what the word is. They kind of feel a little bit better than husband number 1, and they feel very secure in their spot, like overly secure in their spot, because they think that, husband number 1 wasn't doing it. I must be doing all the right things, so I ain't going nowhere. So, Kim ends up flipping the script on Vincent and tells Vincent that she wants to look for a third partner. And so he's struggling now of being replaced, and he's trying to figure out, how am I going to fit into all of this? So when she brought up that idea, Vincent began to pull away from Dustin and Kim. By the way, Dustin and Vincent became friends. They're very close friends. They're like almost like best friends, I think. They have a lot in common, whatever, especially Kim. And so, when he started pulling away from Kim, he, I guess, also in turn kind of pulled away from Dustin as well or something. I don't know. So I guess Kim still wants Vincent around. So she invites him over for dinner so they can all have a discussion. And during dinner, she's explaining to him what she plans on doing. And he's like, not really cool with that. He's not down with that. And so she says, well, if you want to continue to be romantically involved with me, you're going to have to accept the fact that I'm going to be romantically involved with a third man. And that's just what it is. And so he's struggling. He is moping around. He's all moody and depressed and sad. Like, he doesn't know what the hell to do with himself. So this is like extremely interesting because with Seeking Sister Wife, it's kind of like the women just were like expecting the man to continuously bring in more and more wives. And so it really wasn't a big deal to the women whenever the husband would have that conversation that they wanted to add another wife. And a lot of them were like, thank God, because we need help with all these damn kids. We need extra hands with the cooking and the cleaning and the rearing of the children. But in Seeking Brother Husband, there's no purpose to add more husbands other than to just satisfy the ego and the personal interest and desires of the wife. Y'all get what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm going to stop right here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it on your way out. Don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.